Good morning. I finally get to follow the Beatles. Simon and Garfunkel, is it? That's even better. Sorry. Also, everybody was quiet. I welcome everybody to Sunday service today, the 12th of June. I was on the bus yesterday, in the 59 bus, just because I miss buses. And there's a lot of traffic in Brixton. Brixton Hill is closed because of the crane there, if you know the area. So there's a lot of traffic. I was sitting in traffic on the bus upstairs, and I saw this man and a boy run towards this lady. And they had a phone in their hand. I think they thought it was her phone. They were trying to give it to her, and she said, "It's not mine." So they run up the road. I think they got a call on the phone, run up the road, and they met a group of young guys coming down, and it was one of theirs phones. So they finally gave it to them, and I thought they went to so much effort to find the person to give them their phone back. And so because I was slow in traffic, I could watch their body language as they were walking up towards Brixton Station, and they were so happy, that they'd done that. They felt so much energy from doing that one thing. Yeah, small things, yeah. But recently, I've been talking a lot about the principle of creation. So just a reminder, what is God's purpose of creation? I want to recap on this because today I want to talk on a topic which is in the fall of man, which is a pretty heavy topic. You'll find that in the Bible, they talk about the creation twice before they come to the fall, right? It's almost like they don't want to talk about it, and then finally they have to, because that's the reality we have, isn't it? So what is God's purpose of creation? Is to give us, fulfill the three great blessings, really. So we have to fulfill creation by loving God, or loving us, God loves. Love the creation as God loves the creation. God loves us. The three great blessings in Genesis 1:28, as you all know, be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion over the earth. There's more to it there. So this is a quote from True Father. Human beings are in all respects resultant beings, not causal beings. Resultant beings possess certain characteristics because they are made of the same material as the causal being. We can conclude that we are a certain way because we resemble God, who is like us. If you were to ask God, do you wish for your object partners to be better than you or inferior to you? God would answer that he wishes for them to be better than himself. This is why we also desire our sons and daughters be better than ourselves. When we look at ourselves simply as human beings, we may seem insignificant. Yet, when we look at ourselves based on this principle, we can see we are beings whom God originally desired to be superior to and more precious than God himself. We have been completely unaware of this fact. So it is good to bear in mind that our Heavenly Parent originally desired for us to be better than himself, more precious than himself. We have to keep this in mind because sometimes, we forget who we are. We are not simply human beings. We are the eternal object of God's love. Eternal object means always have been and always will be. But what is our reality? There are many graphic images coming out of Ukraine. There's a popular one on Facebook with a girl in a red dress in front of a bombed-out school. Yeah. And, of course, there are many more horrific images coming out of Ukraine. This is the reality we have today. And there are the fighter jets over Korea, because Korea is saber rattling again. Yeah. So the world we live in is totally different to the world that God intended at the beginning. So what went wrong? Well, we all know. This is why today I'm going to talk about the fall. In particular, how we've been imprisoned by the lie that we were told right at the beginning. It's a small lie, but it has trapped us until now. So just as a matter of interest, if you study the principle in a workshops setting, I remember when I did first in 1986, came out of the workshop really inspired, but sometimes there's one part of the workshop of the divine principle that stands out for you, that talks to you personally. So, which part of the principle spoke to you? It's a question. Human history. Parallels of human history. Yeah. Anyone else? Fall of man. Yeah, cool. Somebody said principles of creation. Yeah. The three great blessings. Yeah. Plus what? What is conscience? Wow. Okay. Parallels of history. Yeah. That hit me too. We can broadly divide the principle into three. The divine principle itself is God's story. Yeah. It's God working through history to resolve the problems of history, to fulfill his original ideal. We can break it into the principle of creation, broadly speaking, the fall, the human fall, and restoration. The principle of creation, obviously, is very exciting. What the ideal God wanted for us, what love, what he created for us, so that we could become his eternal objects of joy. And then we are taken down into the fall. But God immediately starts to work to bring us back to his original ideal. So it's important to understand the fall, even though I'm reluctant to talk about it, because it's important to know about it, because without understanding the fall, we cannot hope to overcome the bonds of sin which chain us down. This also is the part of the principle that gave a lot of headache to Reverend Moon to discover. Most religions are vague about the fall. They say sometimes it's something jumped out of a box, Pandora's box, or that we ate a fruit. So what is it, and what is the legacy of the fall? We study it so that we can go back to the origin, the principle of creation. We can restore the origin. So in Genesis 2:17, God commands human beings, "You must not eat from the tree of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die." In the Bible, the first two chapters, where it talks about the creation. I was at a meeting Saturday morning and I spoke a lot there, so I lost my voice. It's coming back though. So the first two chapters of the Bible, God is talking about the creation and God's commandments to us. And after the second from the third chapter on, the third chapter talks about the fall. And then from the fourth chapter to the end of the Bible is restoration, right? However, when the Bible was written, the writers of the Bible already knew about the fall. They knew everything before they started writing, right? But they wrote it in sequence. First two chapters, the ideal and the commandment. Third chapter, the fall. From chapter 4 onwards, restoration. But we're going to talk about chapter 3, or we say chapter 2. So chapter 3 in Genesis is the fall. So, how did the fall happen? In Genesis 3:1, this is the commandment, do not eat. In Genesis 3, the serpent says, I'll read it. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? I underlined really, because I don't know the translations, but this is kind of a subtle leading question, isn't it? The serpent knows what God says, but he's kind of twisted it a little bit. He's speaking the truth, but with a little word to kind of suggest doubt in Eve. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? But actually, from the commandment, God is saying you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He didn't say don't eat of any tree. He said you can eat from any tree. So he's kind of twisted it a little bit of a lie there. So it's not just the one tree. God didn't say don't eat from any tree, but just the one tree. So Eve gives the right answer. She says, the woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. So she gave the right answer, but there was already doubt in her mind. So Satan, the serpent, continues, you will not certainly die. He didn't like cackle, like, hey, you're not going to die, He said it in a smooth way, to convince her, you won't certainly die. I guess that's not convincing yet. But the serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. We can ask the question, did God create evil? So God already knows good and evil, but did God create evil? Or is this the beginning of evil? We can discuss another time. But this is actually part of the lie that Satan is telling. You will not certainly die. It's kind of doubtful, really. All the other trees you can eat of, so why would this one kill you? So actually, you could argue that at this point, Satan is creating evil. Up to today, we keep telling ourselves this lie. We keep repeating it to ourselves. We keep hearing it, and we believe it. But remember, we are intended to be the eternal object of God's love, not simply human beings. Often we hear people tell us, or we hear ourselves telling ourselves, you are not really good enough. Are you really pretty? Really pretty? The other day, we went to a shop, Nitya and I, and we asked for some change, and the cashier gave us £1 too much. Instead of £5, she gave us £6. And we're like, ooh, did God give us £1? We can tell ourselves that, maybe it's God giving it to us, right? £1. Will it make a difference? It wasn't a million, it's £1. But at the end of the day, that cashier would be £1 short, wouldn't she? It's just £1, but she'll be short. So anyway, Nitya took it back, and she was so excited, so happy that, that £1 came back. So that wasn't God's gift to us. There's a special gift that God has given us. Yeah, we felt really good as well that she was happy, that she got her £1 back. You will not really die, he says. There's another common lie we tell ourselves. I'm sure you've heard the term YOLO. You know what it means. You only live once, yeah. So it's your life, right? Live it. Is it really your life? Is it your life? Well, we tell ourselves that it's our life, so live it. But is it our life? We are a certain way because we resemble God, the Creator. So what is God like? Is God YOLOing? Is he like only living once, living for himself? Just going out for pleasure for himself? If it means that we are like God, then what should we be like? That quotation came from a speech that Father gave in 1976, living for the sake of others, 75. Living for the sake of others. And this is what God is. God gave everything for humanity. God gave everything for the creation, and he gave everything to us. This is how we resemble God. If we live for ourselves, our one life, we actually lose it. As Jesus said, if you seek your life, you will lose it. If you lose your life for my sake, you will gain it. So what does it mean for me? It means I live for you. Like my wife, my life is for my wife, for the public, and for God, right? Not for myself. My body is not mine. My body is my wife's. I don't know whether her body is mine, but my body is hers. So can I decide to use my body, my life, for myself? Sometimes we think that, right? Often we think that. I just want to feel good, so, I'll open this big bag of chips and I'll eat it till the end, right? I'll go right down to the bottom, even though halfway through I'm feeling I shouldn't be eating these crisps anymore, but I just keep going till the end because I want to feel good. We want to feel good, so we go and have a drink and we get plastered, right? Because we want to feel good. It's my body, my life. I don't feel good about myself, so I'm going to get a facelift, a nip and tuck, because it's my body. I want a double eyelid. I'll go get some, yeah. So I can make some minor adjustments so I can feel good for myself. So, sometimes you think, well, I want to feel pleasure, so I want to pleasure myself, right? Sometimes you think that, right? Uncomfortable to say, but sometimes we think like this. I want to feel good, so let me feel good in the moment. But actually, if you think about it, because our life, our body is not ours, but the others, the specific others, then we can just live it as we want. So it's a radical way of thinking, really. It's not if you say this to somebody on the street, they'll say, you're crazy. My life is my life. I do my body is my body. I'll do with it as I please. But if you think from God's viewpoint, how we resemble God, our life is for the other, specific other. If Adam and Eve had realized this, imagine if we can take this on board, that our life is for living for the sake of others, for my wife, for my husband, for my nation, for the world. If we lived like this, that liar would have no room to work in our life. We will not believe the lies anymore. We are good enough. We resemble God. We don't need any adjustments to ourselves. Just be ourselves, live for the sake of others, and we're good enough. We are designed to feel good when we live for others. Yesterday, my son has been pestering me to watch this documentary, so I watched it yesterday. It's called What is a Woman? Has anybody seen this documentary? Okay. What is a woman? Okay. So, what is a woman? Yeah. So in this documentary, it appeared that truth itself had ceased to exist. Nobody could really answer the question, what is a woman? It's like, a woman is what you want a woman to be. If you feel like you're a woman, right? Because you can't really define what is a woman. So if I felt that I'm a woman, then I can identify as a woman. And you can't tell me otherwise, right? The reality is staring you in the face, but you can't say because you'd be hurting me. You can't do that. So there appears to be no objective truth anymore. We have followed a lie from the beginning until we can't even talk about truth. I mean, think about true parents. They're always talking about true love, true things, true God. But in the documentary yesterday, there was a professor who he was offended by the question, what is truth? He said, don't bring up truth. It's a loaded word. Really? So if my truth doesn't match with your truth, then they can both be right? Yeah. If you respect my truth, I respect yours, so we can live together following different realities. Just imagine you're on the road and you think my truth is that I can go at any speed I like and any side of the road. You soon find that it's not real, right? It's not. There'll be chaos on the road. We have to understand what is objective reality. We used to say that Satan's big trick was to let us believe that he doesn't exist. But now I think the attack is on truth itself, that there's no absolute reality, that everything is to be argued, everything is up for interpretation. Reality is up for interpretation. New truth is fluid, as most things are these days. So, let's talk about the primary characteristics of the fallen nature, exciting part of the principle. Fallen nature can be divided broadly into 4 types. So who can tell me what they are? The first is not seeing from God's viewpoint. Oh, sorry. Yeah, forget about you're of your father, the devil. We know that. Yeah. 4 fallen natures. Failing to. Who said that? That was correct. And the second is leaving one's proper position and reversal of dominion and multiplication of sin. So not taking God's standpoint, this is a quotation from the divine principle. The principal cause of the archangel's fall was his failure to love Adam with the same heart and perspective as God. Instead, he felt jealous of Adam. The second is leaving one's proper position, seeking more of God's love. Lucifer desired to enjoy the same position of love in the human world as he had in the angelic world. Third, reversing dominion. The angel who was supposed to come under the dominion of human beings instead dominated Eve. Then Eve, who was supposed to, let's not go there. The fourth, let me say it. Then Eve, who was supposed to come under the dominion of Adam. Now, dominion of Adam doesn't mean that Adam rules over Eve. It means that it's a dominion of love. Yeah, so let's understand that. It's not that you rule over women, but you love from God's viewpoint, God's daughters. Yeah. The fourth is multiplying the criminal act, and we feel this all the time. Whenever you have some evil desire, motive, you really want to share it. You don't want to keep it to yourself. When you have good news, you keep it. You win the lottery, you don't tell anybody. Yeah. Anything evil, you like to. So, we spoke about the fallen natures. But What is the effect original sin has on us? The divine principle says we have a propensity to sin. So, since if you study the principle, you would have understood that the original sin was a fallen act between Eve, the archangel, and then Adam. So this is the problem that we need to talk about. Is there anyone who does not have a sexual problem? Is there anyone? I do. We can't even control the food we eat. We eat the wrong foods. I know I shouldn't go to certain fast food places, but when I'm hungry, I just can't resist, and I go. I know it's wrong. I know it's bad for me. We can't control it. And yet, the fall was not caused by eating. That's what we say. It was not caused by eating, but we can't even control our food intake. We can't control our waking and sleeping, but the fall was not part of sleeping or waking up. It's not part of the fall itself was a sexual sin. So if we have any characteristics of the fall, like the 4 characteristics, that's fine, but the origin, sexual sin, must be there because that was the cause. So, if illicit sex was the cause of the fall, then surely, as descendants of the fall, we will have a problem. Yeah. Maybe it's just me. Is it just me? Okay. Sorry. Whew. Yeah. Yeah. So it's not just me. Yeah. Thank you. Not that I feel I want to multiply anything, but I think we need to understand where we are and that we are not alone in the problems that we have, and we are fighting the same battle together. Jesus says, "You're of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires." And so if we can't control our food, and it wasn't the food which caused us to fall, we'll hardly be able to control our sexual problems if sex was the cause of the fall, which I think it was. It's important to understand this because we might think, I'm sinful, I'm unworthy. No, we are all inheritors of the fall. And we all need to expose it so that we can return to become those eternal objects of God's love. It's a quote from the Divine Principle. Even in the most outstanding people, the root of sin, illicit sexual desire, is constantly active in their souls, sometimes without their conscious awareness. So even in the most outstanding people, I'm not even one of those, even they have a problem. There's nobody without a problem. And we are all walking that journey together. And if we can expose the lie that we have been told, which we carry with us and which we tell ourselves every time, that we are not good enough, we are not... Satan always tries to judge us, tell us, you're ugly. You sure is ugly, right? But in God's eyes, please reread Love and Beauty in the Principle of Creation. In God's eyes, we are all beautiful. We are all images of God, and there's nothing to add to us. We just have to realize who we are. Ooh, that was a hard topic to talk about, but yeah. It's something we need to meditate on, understand what it is we are dealing with, so that we have a chance to overcome the problems that we will encounter daily. Thank you. Please join me in prayer. Beloved Heavenly Parent, true parents, thank you so much for our true parents who searched many years with much struggle to discover the root of the fall and to even challenge you to acknowledge that this really was the cause of the fall. And finally, Heavenly Parents, you relented and agreed that this was the problem that caused humanity to fall away from you. And yet, right at the beginning, in chapter 4 of Genesis, you started to work through Adam's family and throughout the ages to return us to our original state as your sons and daughters. This is our destiny, to be your sons and daughters. Nothing will stop that. Accomplishing it requires us to understand where we are, what we need to do to become your true objects, to understand that we are designed, like you, to live for others, not for ourselves. By living for others, if all humanity were able to do that, then everyone will feel your joy, your love through each other. Heavenly Parent, please guide our community here in River South and in the UK. Guide all your children around the world, some who are embroiled in bitter conflict at this time, that they may come to understand who they are before you and really embrace each other as lost brothers and sisters and manifest your love in our lives daily. In small things that we do for others, we will really see instantly that this is really how you designed us to be, to share with others, to shoulder each other's burdens, comfort each other in times of difficulty, empathize with each other. Heavenly Parent, please be with us in this journey. It's a difficult journey, but we have taken the first steps because you never gave up on us. So you're constantly guiding us, leading us on this path with our true parents. Thank you so much. We want to redetermine our resolve today to do the best we can to accomplish your will with our lives and in our community, in our world, in your world. I want to report and pray this in my name, Adza, and Mould of the Central Blessed Family. Aju.